Hello, it's Tracy Daviero from Your VA Mentor. Thank you so much for being with me here today. We'll just wait one more minute until some people can join live if you like to. These are our weekly sessions on Mondays that hopefully you're finding helpful. I like to try to offer some tips, some resources, some information. I know that the getting started process of your VA business is really a lot of fact finding and information gathering and that kind of thing. And obviously there's a lot of steps that you need to go through to get your business open or to decide how your business is going to look whenever you do open it. So that's kind of what these calls are for. So let me just hold on, I'm right near my camera here, just checking my time, so that we can get started right on 12. So I hope you had a nice weekend, and I hope that, there we go, that's probably better to do it on that side, right? So I hope you had a nice weekend. And I hope you're having a really great start to your week. My week started with the cable guy coming this morning because we have a new piece of equipment and it wasn't working yesterday. So we're hoping to get it all working, a PVR. And so he came, we were waiting on him this morning, and I just had this sense that he was going to come right when I was trying to, get started on the live and maybe have to disconnect, the internet, because that's sort of my luck, right, on Monday morning calls. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. I'm Tracy Daviero, and today on our call, we're talking about getting things done. As I was just saying, there are so many things that you need. You probably, if you're anything like me, you have a million lists of things to do to get your business started. And if you have just sort of gotten started, sometimes it's, a little bit rangy trying to get things organized in terms of your work, your clients' work. And one of the things I hear quite often from VAs is that they don't really have time once they start working with clients to market their own business. So we get into various stages of overwhelm, and I think that's something that happens with us because first of all, we want to grow our businesses, right? That's sort of the main thing, is we want to be doing some marketing, doing some networking, get some clients, do some client work, and continue growing the business, because that's the idea, is to build it up and not just get one or two clients. For most of us, we want to have a real thriving business. And so there's never a lack of things to do, as I'm sure all of you would agree. And so we can get into various stages of overwhelm. Sometimes it's, sometimes we're overwhelmed trying to get the pieces of the business started. Sometimes we're overwhelmed with all the networking that we, need to do, or the social media and the writing and the content and the blogs and all, the website, all that stuff that we need to do. Or maybe, we do bring on a couple of clients right away, and then that's, can sometimes be overwhelming. One of the things that we talk about when we first start working with clients is response times. And I have a YouTube video that I'll link to this that, talks about that kind of thing. When you first start working with clients, you don't want to have immediate response time, because it's impossible as your business gets growing and starts building to maintain that with any client, unless you really do only, continue working with, say, two clients. It's very, very hard to sort of jump when they need you to jump. And so it's really important to, make sure that you're handling things correctly and being able to use your schedule to get the things done that you need to get done. And so when you get overwhelmed, I was given a piece of advice by a cousin of mine several years ago now. It's crazy how the years fly. And what he said to me, we were doing a webinar on project management, which I don't know that I'm great at. I do a lot of it, but I'm sure there are a lot of people that are, even better organized than I am. I got a lot of compliments on my ability to get myself organized and get other people organized and that kind of thing. But I still think that, personally, I don't think that I'm fantastic at it. I think that there's other people who do, a really, really 10 times better job than I do. And maybe I'm doing 10 times better job than someone else is, but that's kind of the way that goes. So anyway, the piece of advice that he gave me was that if you're feeling overwhelmed, rather than spending 8 hours ticking things off your list and working late, working extra hours, or, figuring your schedule out somehow and just trying to get through that to-do list, which I have project management system. Now I'm getting a notification that I'm disconnected and connected again. So I'm just going to keep going. And if I do need to re-record this for any reason, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I got a disconnect and a trying to reconnect. So if you missed a little blip in there, I'll make sure that all the content is up. So, and if it happens again, then that's okay too. So we'll plunder through, and that's okay. So rather than spending 8 hours trying to get all those things done, and sometimes that's necessary, but I'm talking about on an ongoing basis, right? Instead of just adding hours to your workday, spend an hour in your project management system and really detail what it is that you need to get done, and look for opportunities to delegate things, look for opportunities to streamline your work habits and that type of thing. And I'll give you a couple of tips on that. So the very first thing you need to consider, and we're going to talk about 4, is the very first thing you need to consider is the urgency of the task. So when you make that big list of things that you need to get done, or if you have an existing list of things that you need to get done, look at the urgency, because not everything has the same level of urgency, okay? When does something actually need to get done or to be done? You need to implement deadlines wherever you can, rather than just having a never-ending to-do list, because truly you're always going to have a never-ending to-do list, right? There's always going to be things getting added to it. But the better you can get in terms of your habits and your routines of booking in time for things and really understanding when things need to get done, that's really going to help you a lot. One of the things that is a really good habit to form is when a client sends you a task of any kind, you let them know. Well, there are 2 ways you can do this. You can ask them when they need it back, but for me, that ends up creating a back and forth of, well, I need it now and I can do this. So what I like to do is I like to let them know when I can get it back to them, because it really isn't up to them to schedule my day. So what I say to them is, they send me something and I say, okay, terrific, I can put that in my schedule Wednesday afternoon. And, hopefully it's not Friday when they're doing that and when they're sending it to me, hopefully that I've got some kind of lead time on it. But so, I'll say to them, I can do that on Wednesday afternoon. And then wait for the sort of feedback to say, oh, I really, I was hoping to get it for Tuesday for the board meeting or something like that. So you can have that kind of conversation, but let them know what your response times are. Let them know what your turnaround times are, the deadline that you're setting for yourself, and let them know that that's when you can work on it. And it really is helpful for you to be in charge of your schedule as a business owner and keep that level of professionalism with your clients, because it really isn't up to them to schedule your day. They are paying you for services, but they're not paying you to, manage you, right? If that makes sense. So urgency is really important. Really figure out when something needs to be done, because just because someone sends you something does not mean that you need to turn it around right away. Some things are more urgent than others, there's no question, but it's really important to identify that and look at the urgency and say, okay, when does this need to be done by? And that's when I'll put it into my calendar. And one of the things that goes along with urgency too is, building in lead times and response times for your clients. So let them know how much lead time you need on things like newsletters or, website changes or, appointments or whatever it is that, launches, whatever it is that you need. You let them know what kind of lead time you need on that kind of stuff. And that will really help you work better with them as well. And it's about getting things done, right? So the second thing is, what the heck is that? Oh, the nature of tasks. I'm like, I have my notes, and I'm like, I don't understand my notes. So the nature of the task. Identify what the nature of it is. What is it that needs to get done? And is it possible to lump it in with other things? Do you have like tasks? And what I mean by that is, do you have, if you're doing reports, like one of the things that I always used to take care of for my clients was, email reports, Google Analytics reports, and those kinds of things. We would do those either weekly or monthly. And so what I tended to do was I would block off a bunch of time in my calendar to do all of them for all my clients. So, okay, I do those on the first of the month, and that's something that I would get done. My production calls with my clients, I do them on Mondays. I tended to do them on Monday mornings, sort of between 10 and, actually they started about 9:30, I guess 9:30 until about 1. And so that was my block of time to do that. So whatever the nature of the task is, how does that work with other things that you're doing, maybe for other clients or maybe for yourself? I could run my own email reports and my own Google Analytics reports at the same time that I was doing my clients, And so it's about increasing your efficiency and making sure that you're working smart instead of just working all the time. And so, one way to do that is to ask your clients how frequently they need something done. And ask them, say I typically do those on Monday mornings, or I typically do those on, the first of the month, or I typically do them on Friday, midday. Is that okay? generally what clients want is they just want you to take care of whatever it is that they need. They're not really too concerned about specifically when it gets done. Some of them are, of course, and say, oh no, I need that every Wednesday morning because I meet with my coach or something like that. There's lots of reasons that people need information like that. But when you're talking about doing like tasks like that, offer up, this is my time slot that I usually do that. Can I add you to that time slot? And that would be great. And it really helps in terms of, what it is that you need to get done. And it increases the efficiency because you're sort of clicking through the same, steps and that kind of thing. So it helps you to be more efficient. The ease of completion is the third thing that you want to think about. So how easy is something to get done? Does it take a lot of time? Does it take a little bit of time? I typically schedule a lot of blocks into my calendar to get things done. And whenever we're working on those things, it's easy to put a lot of things into a sort of one bucket of time. So maybe you need to do, as I'm saying, these reporting, or maybe you're doing some data entry, or maybe you're doing some, reach out to clients about scheduling appointments or something like that. If you can do a bunch of those at the same time and put them into sort of one block of time, or the same block of time every day, that really helps out as well. It will help you, get multiple things done in one time block. So when you're looking at things to do, instead of thinking that you have 12 things on your list that you have to get done, set an amount of time aside that you think that you can get those things done in, and that will really be helpful as well. So I'm just going to do a quick time check. We're good. Okay, and then the fourth thing is delegate. Now, this is something that everybody's afraid of whenever you're first starting your VA business. You're thinking that this is not something that you can't afford to delegate things right off the bat, and that may be true, and that's okay too. But I think if you look at it from the perspective of, is it something that you're going to have to delegate relatively soon, like something like your bookkeeping or whatever, is it a good idea to start delegating that now? So that it's not, because I don't know about you, but like my bookkeeping takes me 10 times longer to do than my bookkeeper, because that's what they do really, really well, right? One of the things that we delegated many years now, like I say, the years fly, is our house cleaning. And so we talked about it for 2 years, my husband and I. It was something that, on Saturday he was working and he was off. He works in the restaurant industry, and so he was off Mondays and Tuesdays. I was off Saturday and Sunday, of course, and so, but if I didn't do the cleaning on Saturday, the house cleaning on Saturday, then he would do it on Monday. And so we found that one of us was always spending the better part of our day off on, cleaning the house. And so we sort of identified what we needed to get done and that kind of thing. And we found somebody, and we're very, very lucky to still have her many, many years later. She left for a period of time last year because she injured her back, and she thought she might retire. She's an older woman. She's lovely. And when I called her to get the name of another person a few months later, she had done some rehab, and she was so happy that, she was going to try coming back. But that's something. She comes for 2 hours every 2 weeks, and she takes such a burden off of us. It's really, she does, floors, bathrooms, dusting, all that kind of stuff, right? So we identified the things, like she doesn't clean our kitchen, and she doesn't do our laundry or anything like that, and she doesn't do, she doesn't need to do the windows or anything. We can do, some slight stuff like that, but we identified what we could delegate, what we wanted to spend, and what we wanted to be able to, make sure was clean very well every couple of weeks, and that ended up being 2 hours of time instead of us trying to get things done or decide who was going to do it, me on Saturday or my husband on Monday. And so we get that time back. And so what we are able to do is we're able to do the pickup stuff. So we can do the windows and that kind of thing. We can clean the kitchen. We can do all the little things because we know the other stuff is getting done. And our other little trick is to invite company over, so that, you can go give the bathrooms a once over and in the odd week that she's not here, so that really helps too. But delegation is a really important thing in your business and in your life, because it helps you to free up the time that you don't want to be spending, doing something else. So when you're looking at those lists of all those things that you need to get done, look at stuff like that too, that can sort of bring some sanity back to your life. And, as a business owner, you're going to be working probably a little more often than you expected to anyway. So doing other things, and you're going to want to free up that time wherever you can. But if it's something that you can delegate, I have people who help me with my social media because I can write it, but being able to go in and schedule it and do, a little interaction and that kind of thing is something that is, someone else can do. And I do want them to do a better job of it than me just kind of thinking off the cuff, So that's why I have somebody helping me do that. I have somebody helping me with my client care because that's something that it's not really a good use of my time unless there's a specific question that somebody needs to answer. And so there are things that you can look at that you're doing. And often, like I say, from a starting business owner's standpoint, it's things like bookkeeping. Maybe it's things like copywriting, writing the copy for your website. If you're really agonizing over it because you don't know how to do it or you don't do it well, or even building your website. If it's not something that you're really strong in, you can waste lots and lots and lots of really valuable hours because, you're not doing, you don't do it really, really well. So delegation is always something too. So I hope that gave you some good tips today. Those are 4 things that I use to get things done all the time. And I hope that they're helpful for you. I look forward to seeing you here next Monday, and I'll check this recording to make sure that I didn't lose any. It's just that one little spot there, but we'll get that taken care of if so. And other than that, I hope you have a super week, and we'll see you next week. Next Monday. Take care. Bye.